I don't think that it changes anything legally. I think it's clearly an effort to try to do more election interference from Jack Smith. He should be ashamed of himself, and it's one of the reasons why we have to win, because he should not be anywhere near power.
GOP vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance speaking out on the reworked 36-page indictment against former President Trump. It's been filed by Special Counsel Jack Smith related to the 2020 presidential election.
The new indictment keeps the same charges, but narrows the allegations against Trump to be more in line with the Supreme Court's recent immunity ruling. Let's bring in Jacqueline Goodman. She's a criminal defense attorney, and Thane Rosenbaum is a distinguished university professor at Touro University. Thank you very much for both of you being here. So talking about this indictment, the superseding indictment, some things left out to shorten it up a bit. It was outlined on MSNBC earlier. This is what a former prosecutor had to say about it.
A prosecutor can remove language from an indictment without going back to the grand jury. But if you change any of the allegations and put any new material in, you must go back to a grand jury and have them return that indictment. And so here, as you point out, they've really reframed the case, even though not much is different. Instead, the very first words of this are not Donald Trump was the 45th president of the United States, but it now says Donald Trump was a candidate for president in 2020. And it frames it in all of these instances as a candidate for office as opposed to a president engaging in official conduct.
So again, it's the same four charges. There are three conspiracy charges, one obstruction charge. This all dealing with what they're calling the election subversion cases. Jacqueline, can I get your thoughts on that from a defense perspective?
Yeah. So. From the defense perspective, they're going to be arguing that this is politically motivated, et cetera. But the challenge that the defense is going to have is that, as you saw in that clip, a grand jury, not a pettit jury, but a grand jury, people that are impaneled to see things over months and sometimes the course of a year, those people who are coming right out of their, teacher, police officer, fireman jobs, come in and do this for the year, retirees. And so they have decided that a crime was committed, and they believe that Donald Trump committed that crime for the second time with this changed indictment. And the new indictment, as you rightly say, still alleges the same conduct, but it couches this and frames it as unofficial acts. And really, we have yet to see what an official act or an unofficial act is yet. But the defense is going to have to argue hard that the distinction that Jack Smith is making is not sufficient to overcome the immunity that the Supreme Court granted.
Yeah.
Any criminal acts that are committed.
Sure. Cutting out a little bit at the end
Officially.
there. Okay. So Thane, we'll go to you next. How does this new filing alter the timeline for this case?
Well, Emma, he came right in under the deadline. There's a policy in our federal system that you don't bring criminal charges against people that are running for president within 60 days of an election. We're coming right up against that date. So that's exactly what you saw here. He was basically saying, look, I have two cases against President Trump, one in Florida that's been dismissed. I want to bring that one again. And here's this other one that I was told that he received criminal immunity for his official acts. And I've got to get this under the wire before the election. After the election, of course, if Donald Trump wins, he'll just make this go away anyway. But if not, at least Jack Smith gets to preserve the criminal charges. The question really becomes, the Supreme Court simply said, well, a president is allowed to call his Justice Department and talk to them about an investigation. So all Jack Smith said was, all right, I'll get rid of that. I'll throw it out. Let's just say that everything that President Trump did was not as president. It was just a guy named Donald Trump trying to run for president. It was a private matter. And let's just say everything else in the indictment is private and not official.